This is one of the most brutal games I've played. I said that 2 episodes ago, and I'm going to say it again. And with this game, this tournament became objectively one of my worst tournaments ever. So, coming into this round, I had 1 out of 2, 1 points out of 2, with 1 win and 1 loss, and now I'm back at it against Shonak. I've played. This is my third time playing him. And I've beat him 2 times before, so I was hoping to get back in the flow of things and try to limit the amount of rating I've lost. So I play the Caracan, and this is a no engine recap. At the very end of this video, we're going to have a game review section where we go through the whole entire game with the game review. But for the main analysis, the main recap, you're getting my unfiltered thoughts on what I thought about the game, and we're not clouding our thoughts with the dirty engine. Anyways, back to the game. I played the Caracan, and he plays the advanced variation. I've been dabbling with the C5 advanced variation of the Caro, where I immediately attack the center. For people familiar with the opening, then you know that Bishop F5 is definitely the more common move, and is definitely a more stable position. But I decided to go C5, and he decides to take. You don't have to take as white. I've had people play Knight of 3 against me and take with the queen. I've seen this. But there's different ways to play, but Shonak decides to take the pawn. And I've had a game like this before where he actually went A3 and B4 like this. So he's done this before against me. But this time he decides to just go Knight of 3 and Bishop D3. Knight of 3, Bishop D3 setup, totally good for white as well. And one of the main ideas in the C5 advanced Caro is this move F6. So black is trying to battle for more space in the center with this F6 pawn break. And it makes a lot of sense. Like, oftentimes, one common thing I've seen is that with a bishop on C8, usually that means F6 is a more viable option, like almost always. With the bishop out on F5 or G4, F6, you have to think about it a lot more. You should probably only do it if you know what you're doing. But with the bishop on C8, sometimes this idea of F6 is more viable. He castles, and I go Knight C6, adding more pressure on this pawn. One thing that I probably don't want to do is take this pawn, although maybe it's doable. By taking the pawn on E5, I'm inviting the queen in, although I'm probably fine because the knight guards the H5 square from the queen from getting in. But the typical move order is to apply more pressure on the E5 pawn first, because really, it's not just about the pawn on F6. It's about fighting for control of the E5 square. That's one of the main ideas in this opening, is fighting for the E5 square. Like, if black can successfully push their pawn to E5, then usually black is doing pretty good. So he plays rook E1, which is definitely not the most common move. The most common way to play is queen E2. And then usually after play could continue like pawn takes, knight takes, queen takes, and knight f6. And something like this could occur. And white is trying to maintain control on this E5 square. We're going to play rook E1 also. Just keep clamp on the square. There's probably other ways to play too, like maybe C4 immediately or at some point. I'm not sure. But with the rook on E1, I feel like it's slightly worse than the queen. Because now after this, the rook, I'm not sure if it really belongs on this square. And really, the rook was doing a good job on F1 against any knight G4 things. So he moves his knight to D2 to F3. That's his main idea. Or knight to D2 to help prepare C4. I was actually expecting him to play C4 in this position. If he did, I would have just castled like I did in the game. Because it doesn't really change anything. And actually, I would have been very happy if he played C4 and then took on D5. Because now that opens up my bishop. And maybe I can move my queen and get my other rook in the game like this. Something like that. I'm not sure. But it says it goes knight d2. After the castle goes knight f3. And this rook on e5 isn't really impressing anyone. And actually, I already have ideas of knight g4. I don't think they work. But if you can just imagine in your head, imagine this rook was a queen. And imagine if there was a rook on f1. Then like you wouldn't have to worry about this f2 pawn. But because this is a rook and this pawn is kind of loose, I mean, look at this rook on f8 x-raying the pawn as well. So you're kind of getting into some shaky water with the rook on e5. That's my impression, at least. But knight g4 doesn't work because you can just sacrifice a piece. And I was trying to make knight g4 work, but I was looking at this and I was like, am I really going to do this? Like, this cannot be good. Like, this cannot be good. Although I do win my pawn back. or I can also do this too. Although in this case, he can't go king h1 because of checkmate. Oh, I kind of stopped my calculation here. I stopped my calculation after queen takes g4. I didn't realize that if he moves his king, I'm threatening checkmate. I actually did not realize that. Huh. And let's say he doesn't move his king. If he doesn't move his king, I gotta have crazy good discoveries. I just have to. He could try to attack my queen. He could try to do this. But then check. No, it's attacking my bishop. Oh. It's not just attacking my queen. It's the knight's also attacking my bishop. Okay. Okay, I think I just found the refutation. Double check doesn't do anything, I don't think. Okay. Okay, well, I'm glad I didn't play that then. Okay. So, but yeah, so I didn't play knight g4 because the bishop takes h7. So instead, I thought for a while here. I thought for 5 minutes. It's a game in 40 tournament. So I played h6. Tournament details in the description below, by the way. And now he plays b3. And now I'm like, I couldn't go knight g4 because of bishop takes, but now he can't take the pawn on h7 again. So now I'm going to play it. And now this position is awesome. Do you remember what I said about if black can get in e5 successfully, black is doing really well? Black is doing extremely well. This is a strong way to say it, but black is just borderline winning. Yeah, there's not much to do here. Of course, h3, well, I'm just going to take and fork you, which seems pretty good. So he has to take on e5. And instead of taking back, I take on f2. I actually, for a while, my first thought after knight takes e5 was, oh my gosh, fork alert. But then bishop check, actually. And actually, it's not a fork. So I was sad. I was like, oh man, doesn't work. Fork alert doesn't work. So, but I decided on this because he has to take, not kinda. He has to take. He can't go here because of knight covers. He can't go here because discovered checks. So he has to take. And I kind of relatively quickly played queen h4, applying more pressure. And it seemed like a very decent move. He plays bishop b2. And that makes a lot of sense. And he played it relatively quickly. And here is, how do I put this? My first blunder of the game, even though it's not a blunder. After knight takes f2, I had 24 minutes left. So I used almost half my time already. And it's like move 15. Although to be fair, I do have a winning position. Like, so you should use your time. You should do it. But here I thought for 12 minutes. I thought for 12 minutes on which way to recapture. And do you know what my conclusion was after thinking for 12 minutes? My conclusion was all of them are okay. That was my conclusion. I was like, my conclusion was no matter if I take with the queen, the rook, or the bishop, all moves are okay, and I don't know what to do. So I was like, I literally thought for half my time, and I'm down to 12 minutes. And yes, I do have a great position. But I used so much time, and I tried to pick up the pace. And I took with the bishop after king move, and I was like, okay, let me play a bit faster now. I'm just going to play bishop f5, trade bishops, and even though he wins this pawn, I don't care. I'm just going to double up my rooks, and I'm going to be doing well. He probably has some compensation with this awesome bishop and his knight close to my king, but should be fine. And like, no, that was stupid. That was stupid. Bishop f5 blunders the whole advantage away. And actually, I'm losing. Because after bishop takes, rook takes, and queen check, the check doesn't just make the king move. The check makes black lose. You can't go to king h8 because of just check. You lose your queen. And if you go king h7, this is what I played in the game, and it went out queen d3. And I think I vaguely saw that he could go queen d3, but I did not realize that after I defend, he would play the move g4. It's defended by his knight. Like, I just didn't realize this. I just didn't think about it when I played bishop f5. And I was absolutely devastated. Because, why do I always do this? Why do I always move so fast? Well, why do I always move so slow so then I have to move so fast in the later part of the game? Why am I so dumb? I just played bishop f5. And, I knew I'd lose this pawn. Why didn't I just calculate, 2 moves later? Why didn't I just, I was extremely upset at myself. Probably an alternative. Probably bishop takes f2 was not good. I assume rook takes. You're threatening discoveries, so now the king moves, and then a move like bishop e6 might be good. Because now knight g6 isn't a fork. Maybe something like this could be totally fine. You might have to calculate to verify it doesn't lose anything, like knight g6 anyways. And you should be fine. You should be fine. This is a great position, actually. For example. But I literally throw everything away. Bishop f2 takes f2 probably is not even a great move. It's probably okay. And then bishop f5 just losing. Losing on the spot. I actually don't see how bishop f5 is not straight up losing. Of course, if king f8, probably knight d7 check. Or maybe bishop check here. This also seems very good. That would be very bad. This is just checkmate. So, okay. So yeah, I just play I won an exchange out of the open. Immediately blunders the whole game away. And I'm like, oh my god. This sucks. I was like, oh my god, this sucks. But I'm like, you know what? We just gotta play chess. Bishop g3. Maybe he won't see checkmate. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I think maybe he can go knight f3. Attacking the queen. Guarding the pawn. The rook can't take because it's pinned. But he doesn't need to calculate. He just takes the bishop. Also good. Also a good move. And who am I to say that who am I to say knight f3 considering I blundered the whole rook away anyways? But in this way, instead of being down a whole rook, now I'm down now I have 2 rooks for the knight and bishop. And I was like, I'm going to try my best to hold on to this game at all costs. So I attack this pawn. If he allows me to eat these 2 pawns, then I'm very close to a draw. Then I'm like, I'm getting closer to a draw. The more pawns get off the board. So he defends the pawn. I attack the pawn. He blocks my attack on the pawn. And I could play b5, but then I was like, knight d3. Do I really want to do this? I probably should have played this move. But I was like, no, I'm just going to go attack the other pawn. I'm just going to go on the open file and go from here. And he played bishop d4. A really great move. And my rook does not have enough squares on this file. These two, or on this rank, I should say. These two squares are covered by the king. This is covered by the knight. And if I put my rook here, which is what I did in the game, now I can't double up on his second rank. Like, the best way for a draw is if I can put both my rooks on the 7th rank and just keep checking him. That would be the best case scenario for me to get a draw. So bishop d4, great move to not allow me to do that. And honestly here, after the queen trade, I had less than 5 minutes on the clock. I had probably about 3 minutes or 2 minutes, so I actually stopped notating here. So I'm not sure what the move order was. He might have played a4 first. He probably took immediately. I don't quite remember. What I do remember though is I attacked the pawn, and he played a4 to solidify his knight at some point. And then I took the pawn, and this position did definitely happen. I'm very confident that this was the position. And then I played g5 because I wanted to make the bishop make a decision on where to go. Like, if he moves his bishop this way, for example, well, now he can't go knight to e3 because my rook covers it. And yeah, this is kind of my idea. I forget where he moves his bishop. He moves his bishop to e5, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember. But yeah, that was not good. Eventually what happens is he brings his knight in and brings his rook in and creates a checkmating attack against me, and eventually checkmates me, and that was the game. So with this loss, I lost to a 1375 in round 1, and then I lost to Shonak at 1700 in round 2. And yeah, that sucked. That sucked. Especially both my games I was winning. You could definitely argue that this winning position that I had against Shonak, like, was it really winning or just much better? You could argue that. I would accept that argument if someone said you weren't winning, you're just much better. Sure. But it still hurt a lot. And then I had one more game to play. So, but it is what it is. I just can't believe I thought for 12 minutes. Like, I could have spent 30 seconds on this move here. On, where is it? Yeah, bishop takes f2. I could have thought for 15 seconds on that. 15 seconds. Oh, also, one idea was, like, after bishop f2, I was trying to calculate bishop g3. I was like, ooh, bishop g3. But then I was like, nah. Well, now I'm not checkmating him anymore. That's one reason why I didn't go bishop g3. But honestly, trades benefit me. I'm up in exchange. Like, why did I not go for that? Like, I actually thought about that in advance, and I still didn't go for it. There could be a detail I'm missing. I'm not sure. But anyways, I'm just complaining because I'm bad at chess. Chess is hard. Chess is so hard. Okay, well, with that being said, subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Game review time.